2% of the Syrian population are Kurds, residing not only in Kurdistan, but also in the urban centers of Damascus, Aleppo, and other cities. After the declaration of independence of Syria, various Arabic nationalist powers turned into political dominant forces. Kurdish parties had never been allowed. Instead, even before the coup of the Baas Party, a national census was conducted in 1962 that neglected the Kurds and deprived them of their citizenship. Over 120,000 turned into stateless individuals without any right to bear a passport. They were declared as being ajanib, foreigners, in their own country and lost all of their rights, were disposed and had no legal right to own or inherit real estate, and had been banned to work or leave the country. Furthermore, they had been banned to study at the university or receive any higher educational degree, and couldn't pass on their status to their children. Whenever a member of this ajanib married a Syrian citizen, their children were declared as maktoum, as non-registered. The maktoum even had a worse status and couldn't even an elementary school with no papers whatsoever in their possession. Traveling even inside Syria has been a major problem, subjecting the maktoum to police brutality while not even being able to spend the night in Syrian hotel. Until 2011, the number of ajanib and maktoum rose to over 400,000 in the wake of the uprising against the regime. The Baas Party finally enabled the ajanib, but not the maktoum, to be Syrian citizen. When passport had been issued to the ajanib, the civil war was already intensifying. In 1933, the proposal of the Arab Belt was laid out, resulting the implementation in 1973 and the displacing of the Kurds in the border region and the settling of Arabs in a total length of 350 kilometers. Kurdish town and village were destroyed in 10 to 15 kilometer wide border strip. Arab towns were founded that consist of more modern and better infrastructure, while the Arab inhabitants had been armed by the regime. Any opposition against this policy met harsh persecution by the regime. Kurdish politicians had been arrested, tortured, or simply disappeared. This resulted in an uprising against the regime in 2004 in Kamishli that was subjected by the most brutal methods. But not only politicians are victims. On March 21, in 25, the popular and secular Naqshbandi cleric Sheikh Hiznawi, was kidnapped and murdered, resulting again in massive protests. In this revolution, the Kurds have participated from the very beginning. The Kurdish city, Amuda, was the second city after Daraa to stage protests against the regime. Many Kurds were arrested, tortured, and murdered. Nevertheless, the Arab opposition group and parties are not yet ready to deal with the Kurdish demands. So far, we are not promised more than that we may receive full civil rights, but this is too little. Through all the differences, all Kurdish parties are in agreement that there must be some form of autonomy for Kurdistan. Such autonomy will not only be for the Kurds, but also for the minorities living here. Aramic and Armenian Christians would obtain full political, linguistic, and cultural rights in autonomous region of Kurdistan. The fact that the Arab opposition group were not ready to call the demands appropriate spurred certain skepticism toward the Arab opposition among many groups such as Jabhat al-Nusra or the Islamic State in Iraq and Greater Syria repeatedly attack Kurds. This conflict is also the reason for distrust between Kurds and the Arab opposition group. Many Kurds in general fear the dominance of various Islamist currents because, in our view, a future Syria can only exist as a secular state. Syria is a multi-religious state, also in Kurdistan, alongside Sunni Muslims, various minority belonging to various Christian churches, and Kurdish Yazidi live side by side peacefully. Many of the minorities are exposed to attack and discrimination against Muslims again and again in history. The rights of Yazidi and all other religious minorities are to be secured in the future. If there was a clear commitment to religious freedom and secular state by the opposition, it would also undermine the regime if forced to play with the fear of religious minorities against an Islamist takeover. Also, Alawites, Christian and Yazidi and Druze need to feel safe in future Syria. We Kurds will contribute to this. We call for this future. One, the recognition of the Kurds as equal citizens in Syria. Two, the recognition of the Kurdish language as an equal official language. Three, a political autonomy for Syrian Kurdistan. Syria is a beautiful garden with many flowers. Each flower has its own color and its own smell. The Ba'ath Party has tried to make it an ugly lawn with no distinction. Let's work together that our Syrian garden may blossom in all its diversity again. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for you both, Jamal and Khadr, for the talk. And I don't know if it's better with or without the microphone. We can give it another try with the microphone.